The film opens with a man named Taesik who has just been released from prison. In his small notebook, he writes a promise never to fight again as he once did. He then walks toward his foster mother's house, but she happens to be away, so he is told to come back later. Taesik decides to stop by a public bathhouse first to clean himself up. Meanwhile, in front of a nightclub, a woman is being beaten by members of the Yakuza. The police do not dare to intervene because they know the gang boss must also be there. His name is Changmu, and he is scolding his subordinates. Not long after, Changmu is suddenly called out rudely. He immediately straightens up and shows respect when he realizes who has arrived. Taesik, his former boss, tells him that he only came to ask how he has been. After that, Taesik visits another former subordinate named Yankee, who is now also a Yakuza leader. Taesik does not stay long since he wants to go home soon. That night, Taesik finally meets his foster mother again at the restaurant. They shared dinner together for the first time. His younger sister, Hoeju, also sees her foster brother for the very first time. After showing him his room, Hoeju starts a conversation with him. She still does not understand how her mother decided to adopt someone whose background is unclear. Hoeju warns him that if he wants to stay there, he must follow their mother's rules. Meanwhile, at the market, a city council candidate named Chopansu is holding a campaign rally. He promises to renovate the market to attract more customers. When he gets into his car, he immediately wipes his hands after shaking hands with people. As a parolee, Taesik has to report regularly to the police station. One of the officers happens to recognize him from school. Reluctantly, the policeman warns him not to get involved in any crime again. To cut ties completely with his past, Taesik goes to a hospital to remove his tattoos. The staff are shocked by the markings on his body, realizing they are symbols of the Yakuza. The doctor tells him that laser removal costs a lot of money, which Taesik cannot afford at the moment. At Chopansu's office that day, Taesik's foster mother barges in to give a warning. She tells him that she will never sell her restaurant and orders him to stop sending thugs. Later that night, while Taesik is relaxing, Hoeju comes to him and tells him to stop smoking because she dislikes it. With reluctance, Taesik obeys her request. A few days later, Taesik finally gets a job at a small repair shop. His policeman friend still cannot believe the drastic change he has made since being released from prison. 10 years earlier, he had been the most powerful Yakuza boss, with Changmu and Yankee as his subordinates. One day, Taesik is suddenly surrounded by a group of Yakuza. They are members of the Choi Doppel gang, his old rivals. However, their strength is no match for Taesik, even though he is alone. Without mercy, he kills Choi Doppel on the spot. After Taesik's imprisonment, power shifted into the hands of his two subordinates. Unfortunately, both of them quickly lost control when faced with an old enemy, Byungjin, who works for Chopansu, a wealthy businessman. Now that Taesik is free, his return is certain to disturb their peace. At his office, Yankee receives a report about his former boss's movements. It says that Taesik now lives with the woman who owns a restaurant and works at a small repair shop. As a businessman, Chopansu plans to build a shopping center. Unfortunately, the land where Taesik's foster mother's restaurant stands is not for sale. Therefore, he orders all his men to gather that night. That afternoon, Hoeju, who struggles with math, can barely stay awake in class. Her young lecturer patiently continues explaining the lesson to the students. When class ends, she is surprised to see her brother waiting outside. Taesik says he wants to try attending college, but everyone laughs, believing he would never understand mathematics. Yet Taesik confidently says that math is his favorite subject. Hoeju is even more shocked to learn that her lecturer already knows her brother. Later at the park, the young lecturer asks why Taesik refused to see her when she visited him in prison. Taesik only apologizes without offering any explanation. On their way home, Taesik notices his sister staring at a shop window. Hoeju has been admiring a new gadget she has been dreaming of. Unfortunately, it is too expensive, so they decide to buy snacks instead. From a distance, a man who has long been obsessed with Hoeju spots them and becomes enraged. Without warning, he attacks and drags Taesik to a warehouse. Mistakenly thinking Taesik is Hoeju's boyfriend, the thug beats him mercilessly. Bound by his promise not to fight, Taesik endures the blows without striking back. Since he does not retaliate, the thug orders his men to join in. As they gang up on him, Taesik's clothes are torn, revealing his Yakuza tattoos. Everyone freezes in shock, unable to say a word. When they get home, Hoeju begs Taesik not to tell their mother, as she does not want to worry or upset her. That night, Chopansu gathers all his subordinates in one room. He asks about Yankee, who was supposed to deal with the restaurant matter. When Yankee fails to respond, Changmu steps in and promises that he will take care of the problem right away. The next day, Changmu goes straight to the restaurant and orders his men to cause trouble. Moments later, he is shocked and quickly calls them off. Furious, Taesik grabs his former subordinate by the neck, but his mother stops him. Terrified, Changmu can only beg for forgiveness before rushing out. Feeling deceived, Changmu confronts Yankee for not telling him that their former boss has returned. Yankee brushes it off and says that Taesik's comeback is a threat to all of them, since he could easily take over Cho Pansu's power, which is built only on wealth. A few days later, Byungjin finally reports to his boss about the release of their old enemy. Cho Pansu scolds Yankee and Changmu for keeping it from him. Now he must stay alert, as his position is in danger. Meanwhile, Hueju asks Taesik to help her study math. She wonders how her brother ever learned the subject, given that he was once a prisoner. Taesik explains that the young lecturer used to volunteer at the prison. She was the one who patiently taught him, and they spent a lot of time together back then. That evening, after getting his paycheck, Taesik visits his beloved foster mother. He has bought her a special gift, a pair of new shoes that move her to tears. Hueju gestures for her brother to hug their mother, even though he feels shy and awkward. A moment later, Taesik also gives a present to his sister, the very thing she has been dreaming of. However, out of pride, Hueju pretends to reject it, so Taesik decides not to insist. Not long after, Hueju, unable to stop thinking about it, makes him a drink. Understanding her gesture, Taesik smiles and hands her the gift again. As days go by, the bond between Taesik and Hueju grows stronger. When Hueju spots Taesik's small notebook, she snatches it from him. It was a gift from their mother during one of her visits to the prison. Since receiving that notebook, Taesik has slowly changed and left the Yakuza life behind. Hueju then says that she will help him achieve one of his dreams. That day, the restaurant closes early to fulfill Taesik's long-awaited dream, having a picnic with his small family in the hills. When Hueju tells their mother that Taesik wants to attend college, she is overjoyed. They spend the day playing and laughing together, full of happiness. Hueju records the moment with the gadget her brother gave her. One night, Taesik is surprised to find Byungjin waiting alone in front of the restaurant. The two of them talk privately in a corner of the park. With a friendly tone, Byungjin reveals that Cho Pansu wants to take over the land where his mother's restaurant stands. He urges Taesik to keep his family away from danger. From a distance, one of Yankee's men witnesses their meeting and reports it immediately. Yankee then meets Changmu to discuss the matter. They suspect that Cho Pansu sent Byungjin to offer a deal, which means their positions could be replaced by Taesik if he agrees to give up the restaurant. Meanwhile, at the hospital, Hueju accompanies her brother as he removes his tattoos. She tells him to study hard so he can attend the same college as her. Happily, Taesik writes the dream down in his small notebook. To protect his position, Changmu returns to the restaurant while Taesik is away at work. He must seize the land to remain Cho Pansu's trusted man. Without mercy, his men start wrecking the place and causing chaos. When Hueju tries to stop them, she is shoved hard and falls onto the street. Not long after, Taesik's sister arrives at his workplace in tears. When he rushes home, the Yakuza have already left, leaving the restaurant in ruins. Hueju's gadget, which she had only recently received, is broken beyond repair. Their mother can do nothing but curse in anger and frustration. That night, while Changmu is drinking and celebrating, he is startled to see Taesik arrive. Taesik asks to be taken to Cho Pansu so they can talk peacefully. He explains that he has left the Yakuza life behind and no longer wants to resort to violence. He pleads with Cho Pansu to stop harassing his family. Ignoring his words, Cho Pansu immediately calls his right-hand man. Yankee then contacts both the police and local thugs to carry out their boss's orders. A few days later, while Taesik is at work, a group of men arrive and attack without warning. The elderly owner of the workshop tries to stop them but is beaten mercilessly as well. From a distance, several policemen watch in disappointment as Taesik does not fight back, leaving them without evidence to send him back to prison. That night, while Hueju is out shopping for household items, Taesik helps his mother wash dishes at the restaurant. Suddenly, a man shows up and provokes the former Yakuza. He says it is ironic that a mother would adopt the man who killed her own son. The words shock both Taesik and his mother, as they reveal a painful past. The man Taesik killed years ago, Choi Dopal, was in fact her biological son. Enraged, Taesik almost strikes him but stops himself when he sees his sister nearby. Late that night, Hoeju cannot stop thinking about the truth she has just learned. Their mother explains that after losing her son, she had been consumed by grief. When she went to the prison to confront the killer, the young man wept in regret. She realized that what Taesik needed most was a mother who could guide him toward the right path. After hearing this, Hoeju meets Taesik privately. When Taesik says he plans to leave, she lashes out at him. She refuses to let him go, saying his presence makes their mother happy. Hoeju insists that Taesik is nothing like her late brother, who used to beat their mother whenever he didn't get his way. In an effort to protect the restaurant, their mother once again visits Cho Pansu's office. Cho Pansu denies ever manipulating Taesik and her late son against each other. She then presents a photocopy of Choi Dopal's diary as evidence. If that proof were to spread, Cho Pansu's dream of becoming a city council member would be destroyed. That night, while caring for the injured old mechanic, Taesik receives a call from Byungjin. Byungjin warns him about the danger that is about to come. Taesik rushes home and finds his mother drunk and deeply troubled. Just as Byungjin warned, that day Hoeju was suddenly struck by an unknown motorcyclist on her way home. She is taken to the hospital unconscious. The incident breaks their mother's spirit, and she finally gives up her fight to keep the restaurant. She decides to let it go, willing to start over from nothing as long as her children remain safe. Without waiting any longer, Taesik goes to see Cho Pansu alone. He asks that his family no longer be harassed, as they plan to leave in a few days. However, Cho Pansu refuses unless Taesik surrenders one of his arms. Reluctantly, Taesik complies to protect his beloved family. In the car afterward, Byungjin reassures Taesik that there is no need to worry about his arm. Meanwhile, Cho Pansu orders Yankee to carry out a secret mission. A few days later, while Taesik is at the hospital, his mother reminisces about her late son. Their restaurant had just been completed when Choi Dopal was still a teenager. The memories overwhelm her, and tears fall uncontrollably. Suddenly, Yankee chokes her from behind, ending her life. He then takes Choi Dopal's diary to eliminate the evidence threatening his boss. When Taesik returns home, he is shocked by his mother's condition. She is hanging as if she had committed suicide, leaving him to grieve without suspicion. With no reason left to live, and seeing their mother's restaurant being demolished, Taesik feels his Yakuza spirit awaken. Holding back his tears, Taesik makes up an excuse when Hoeju asks about their mother. He then takes his sister to the home of her former math teacher for safekeeping. At the Yakuza headquarters, Yankee and Changmu greet their boss with full respect, preparing for a celebration of their success. Suddenly, Taesik bursts in, shocking everyone. He announces that tonight he must break the promise he has kept for 10 years. He orders Byungjin to leave so he will not be harmed. Without hesitation, Taesik throws his cigarette into a puddle of fuel. Panic erupts, and the battle begins. The former Yakuza rages with unstoppable force. No matter the number of opponents, nothing can contain his fury. One by one, Cho Pansu's men fall. Taesik relentlessly pursues his main target, seeking revenge. Finally, bloodied and unyielding, Taesik defeats all his enemies. Cho Pansu, cornered and desperate, tries to escape, but there is no way out. Mercilessly, Taesik strikes him repeatedly until he dies. Years later, Hoeju completes her doctoral program at her university. She once asked her math lecturer whether he loved her brother, but the lecturer could only reply that he did not know what to say.